Hi, I'm Rev Byron. I'm a minister through Pathways of Light, and I've been a Course in Miracles student for uh, 43 years. I'm going through the lessons again this year, asking Jesus to clarify for me, and then I write from that clarity, and that's what I'm sharing with you today. Before we get started, I wanted to ask that if you find this video helpful, then please like it. And if you haven't yet, please consider subscribing. That would be very helpful. Okay, so let's get started. We're looking at lesson 313. Now let a new perception come to me. Father, there is a vision which beholds all things as sinless, so that fear has gone, and where it was is love invited in, and love will come wherever it is asked. This vision is your gift. The eyes of Christ look on a world forgiven. In his sight are all its sins forgiven, for he sees no sin in anything he looks upon. Now let his true perception come to me, that I may waken from the dream of sin and look within upon my sinlessness, which you have kept completely undefiled upon the altar to your holy Son, the self with which I would identify. Let us today behold each other in the sight of Christ. How beautiful we are, how holy and how loving. Brother, come and join with me today. We save the world when we have joined, for in our vision it becomes as holy as the light in us. I like the progression of these last three lessons. I judge all things as I would have them be. I see all things as I would have them be. Now let a new perception come to me. In truth, there's only love, but we use judgment to perceive it differently. Judgment allows us to perceive love as we want it to be. Once we make up our mind what we would have something be, we project that perception and use the body's eyes to see it, and thus seem to prove it is as we would have it be. First, we decide on a thing, and then we manifest it so that it can be seen. As we begin to understand the process and how our judgments make the world as we experience it, we can change it. This change occurs not by changing the effect, but by changing the cause, which will always be our thoughts. It is possible to make that change once we understand how this works. Before that understanding, we could not change the effect because we didn't know our own judgments were the cause. Yesterday, I talked about an unfortunate situation that I caused and then regretted. It was a result of judging based on my fear. I didn't like the effect, but it was what I asked for, and I felt trapped in the misery of my own making. I wanted to change, but I kept running into the belief that I was right. I felt justified in my judgment, and so the effect couldn't change. Lessons 311 and 312 were my salvation, because once I saw clearly that I was choosing how I saw the situation and that I could choose differently, I did that. It wasn't an instantaneous change, by the way. I had to look again and again because I kept getting confused by the ego thinking. The ego always looks for someone to blame and, of course, finds them. This is all happening in my mind, and many years and even many lifetimes of defending myself against guilt by projecting it onto someone else had convinced me that this was my salvation. It isn't salvation, though. It's a prison. I found my way out of that prison yesterday, and now that I can see clearly, it will never be as hard as it was then. Maybe I'll be able to avoid the whole situation in the future. I know that my goal is peace through union, so to judge someone as guilty is counterproductive to my goal. This knowledge will help me avoid this kind of thinking now that I understand the judgment wasn't based on what I saw, but on what I thought. Perception comes first, then projection shows me what I thought. With this understanding, I can allow a new perception to come to me. I've always sensed this, but didn't fully understand it. Or maybe it was that I wasn't fully convinced that it was always true without exception. But I've made it a habit to follow instructions from Jesus, whether I understood or even believed them. They always prove themselves to be true if I'm consistent in applying them. This is why I think my most frequent prayer is that the Holy Spirit correct my perceptions. I sensed this was a way out of the world, and now I fully understand why it works, and I have proven that it does. From now on, it will be a simple practice until it is what I do automatically. Looking at guilt, I have in the past believed I was guilty, and that belief was so intolerable that I spent my life trying to divest myself of it. I did this by punishing myself for the guilt and by projecting it onto someone or something else. So I used every opportunity to judge and then to see the proof that I was right. This is how I made the world I experienced. It's how you made the world you experienced. Now my practice is to ask the Holy Spirit to judge for me. He's not trying to change reality, so he judges everyone and everything as innocent because that's how all is created. As I accept his judgment as true, I begin to see innocence everywhere I look, even when I look in the mirror. When this practice becomes the way I live, I will see a very different world. Already, this has begun to happen for me. Situations like what happened yesterday are rare now, so I know my practice is paying off, and that is truly motivating to keep me going. Sometimes I look out at the world and I think it's impossible to see it any other way than so full of pain. Then I remember that I'm seeing what I decided to see. So I ask the Holy Spirit to correct my perception. And when I look again, instead of seeing man's inhumanity to man, I see these precious souls having an experience that will ultimately lead to awakening. I feel so much love for them that I can hardly stand it, and it makes me cry in joy. What we perceive is what we project. Our perceptions can be corrected. Don't try to figure out a new way to see, just ask and trust for correction, and you'll be given the new perception. And eventually, you'll wonder how you ever lived with so much judgment in your heart and will be filled with gratitude for your new life experience. How beautiful we are, how holy and how loving, and how gentle this shift becomes when we stop trying to change the world and simply allow perception to be healed. Each moment of willingness opens the way for love and to look through, for love to look through us, revealing that the world has been innocent all along. Thanks so much for joining me. I'll be back soon with another reading. See you then.